A controversial Church of Scotland report which questioned the divine right of Jews to the land of Israel has been widely condemned by Jewish groups and the Israel government as anti-Semitic and anti-Israel. Mr. Ephraim Borowski, the leader of the Scottish Council of Jewish Communities, has been closely following this matter.
What really concerned us, I think, wasn't only that the report that the Church of Scotland has now adopted at its General Assembly 3 weeks ago was anti-Israel. We're candidly quite used to that. But this broke new ground, this crossed a new line, because the argument that it was bringing to that debate was essentially in the guise of theology. And there were elements of supersessionism, so-called replacement theology. They were selecting for themselves who to quote from the Jewish community. They didn't cite any mainstream Jewish sources. They essentially made up a case for their own conclusion. And I think universally across the Jewish community, we found this offensive.
What do you anticipate the future will be regarding this controversy?
Well, the way it came to a head at the end of the General Assembly debate was that somebody from the floor proposed an amendment to what they call a deliverance, the motion or resolution, proposing that there should be continuing dialogue with the Jewish community. And unfortunately, although that was perfectly compatible with the report, that was rejected. So the line that we've taken is that the Church of Scotland, in its General Assembly, with more than 700 people voting, overwhelmingly rejected a call for continuing dialogue with the Jewish community. And we therefore have no alternative but to say that they have closed the door. Now, I have to make it very clear that whether the door is closed or not, it remains possible for them to knock on it, and we will open it from our side and we will continue dialogue with them. There are many things that we have tried to discuss with the Church of Scotland over the last, let's say, year to 18 months, that they have simply not been interested in talking about. And it seems to us that they are fixated on their somewhat perverse view of the Middle East. They are not interested in Palestinians, or else they would be interested in Palestinians in Lebanon, Palestinians in Syria, Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. They are only interested in the conflict in Israel, and they are not interested in what we are telling them is the experience of Jewish people in Scotland, which is unfortunately affected by this kind of extreme rhetoric.
So interestingly, a large part of the facts are simply overlooked or omitted.
Oh yes, absolutely. It's a very short report. In fact, it's barely worthy of the title of report. The document is only about 6 pages plus their summary and the resolution at the end. And as I say, they are incredibly selective in their choice of history, in their choice of sources, in their theology, and it is simply not something that any scholar would find recognizable.
Whereas Jewish leaders are not happy with the present position of the Church of Scotland on the matter, it is hoped that progress will be made to resolve it. This is Richard Peritz for JN1 in Scotland.